Back on May 1st of 2024, the City of Toledo, Lucas County, and Environmental Law and Policy Center announced that they had banded together in a lawsuit against the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, alleging that it failed to uphold its end of the bargain under the Clean Water Act. Now, not too long after that, I received a statement from the EPA offering its side on the matter, saying, quote, EPA received the lawsuit from the City of Toledo and is currently reviewing. Addressing the problem of algal blooms in the western basin of Lake Erie will take all of us. It will take unflagging commitment and resolve, and it will take time. I was joined for an interview this week by Katie Garvey, staff attorney with the Environmental Law and Policy Center. She's providing both an update on the case and where her entity stands on the matter. There is common ground in this lawsuit because obviously the EPA says that this is going to take all of us to solve, and I think that that's something your organization agrees with, but where is the disconnect?
We agree that this is a big issue. But I think where our organization might disagree is that everybody, certain players here have very specific roles and responsibilities. When it comes to the US EPA, they have a very specific set of obligations under the Clean Water Act when it comes to dealing with waters that are, well, the word we use is impaired. So waters like Lake Erie that are not in a good state of health. States have obligations under those scenarios, and the US EPA has obligations under these scenarios. And it's our position that neither the state nor the US EPA is meeting their obligations to clean up Lake Erie.
And one of the key parts of this is the total maximum daily load. And that is a limit that is set on how much can be discharged into the lake. And it seems that that has been a key issue in terms of this lawsuit.
That is correct. The TMDL is kind of the centerpiece of this lawsuit. This is the fourth lawsuit that ELPC has filed against the US EPA about the failure to clean up Lake Erie. This lawsuit is the specific one, the one that was filed last May, is about the TMDL that was adopted by the state of Ohio and approved by the US EPA, and about our perspective that TMDL is legally deficient. The three prior lawsuits were necessary to even get us to where we are today. We had to file multiple lawsuits to get the state to do a TMDL, well, to first acknowledge that Lake Erie was impaired, to do a TMDL. And so we had to sort of move the US EPA along every step of the process. And now we're here at the point where, as you mentioned, a TMDL was put in place by the state of Ohio. And from our perspective, it is legally insufficient and practically also insufficient. It will not clean up the lake.
So what will clean up the lake?
Well, so our view is that this TMDL does not actually clean up Lake Erie. That even if this TMDL was followed to the letter and everybody did everything they said they were going to do in it, it's not going to clean up the lake. And there's a lot of science behind that. People have been studying Lake Erie very closely for dozens of years. We know a lot about Lake Erie, and we know a lot about what's going to take to clean it up. Just from a pure science perspective, a total maximum daily load focuses on load, right? As you mentioned, it's the amount of stuff going into the lake. And when it comes to harmful algal blooms, the stuff that really leads to harmful algal blooms is phosphorus. And in particular, one type of phosphorus called dissolved reactive phosphorus. And our perspective is that the reason this TMDL, even if it was followed to the T, won't work is because this TMDL only addresses one type of phosphorus, what's called total phosphorus, whereas we know, and the science knows, and everybody has agreed for years that one of the really significant problems that is fueling the harmful algal blooms is a different pollutant, dissolved reactive phosphorus, or DRP. And DRP is not addressed in this TMDL. And from our perspective, that is one really significant failure. And it's basically it means that the TMDL is doomed to fail.
Given that it's been now a little over a year since this lawsuit was filed, where do things stand currently, and have there been additional conversations about bringing a resolution to this situation?
The lawsuit is still in a very early phase of litigation right now. anytime there's a lawsuit, there's often a lot of sort of preliminary motions, lawyers filing things about, a little details about this and that. In this particular case, there have been a number of those sort of preliminary issues. One involves intervention. There's a number of groups that are trying to get involved in the lawsuit that are not currently involved in the lawsuit. Another is what's referred to as the administrative record, which sounds like this very boring thing, but it's basically the set of documents that lay out the legal issues in the case. So there is some ongoing disputes about what is in and what should be in that administrative record. So we're still at the very early phase of this case where those preliminary issues are still being considered by the court.
What is the desired outcome?
The desired outcome of the lawsuit is to get a TMDL that will work, whether that means that Ohio EPA develops it and EPA approves it, or EPA works with Ohio EPA to develop it. The goal is really just to get something put together that will work. The goal of the reason we filed the lawsuit was we wanted to really clarify and identify the reasons why, both from a legal perspective, this is not sufficient, but also from a practical perspective, why it's not going to work, so that everybody could get on the same page and understand, okay, these are the things that need to happen. And generally, I'm not it's never a great idea when you're a lawyer to try to predict how a litigation will go. So there's going to be many steps along the way before we get to any clear answers on what will happen. But I do hope, and the whole point of the lawsuit is that everybody will come to the table and put something together that will actually clean up Lake Erie.
I have also reached out to the US EPA for an updated statement on this case or on-camera interview. I will update you as to when that request is fulfilled. Reporting in Toledo, Ohio, I'm Jaden Jefferson.